that this AI bubble talk
and whether a new risky bubble could be forming at the same time.
The surge in AI investment is starting to resemble a bubble.
Are we in an AI bubble?
Of course.
Everyone is talking about the AI bubble right now, which made me curious. What do they actually mean? So I started digging into it, and the more I looked, the more I realized the situation is a lot more serious than it sounds. So I went deeper, this time with clear questions in mind. What is the AI bubble exactly? How does something like this even form? Who benefits while it grows? Who loses when it bursts? And how does all of this come back to us? I didn't realize the rabbit hole I was stepping into. The deeper I went, the clearer, and honestly, the scarier it became. In this video, I'm going to summarize exactly what I found, why this bubble is inflating faster than it can stabilize, what happens when the money slows, the global fallout if it breaks, and most importantly, what this means for us, the regular people, the workers, the ones trying to build a stable future, protect our savings, and figure out where we fit in all of this. So stay with me, because once you see this clearly, it's hard to unsee it. So let's start with the obvious question. What exactly is the AI bubble? Every headline over the past year has celebrated the same story: trillion-dollar valuations, record profits, and the promise of a new industrial revolution. But the story we hear and the reality underneath it are not the same thing. At its simplest, a bubble happens when prices grow faster than reality can justify, when hype replaces revenue, and expectations inflate so high that truth can't reach them anymore. In AI's case, capital is chasing a dream that hasn't paid for itself yet, at least not for most of the companies driving the hype. Right now, the world's largest corporations are spending at a rate we've never seen before. Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta, together, they're pouring roughly $400 billion a year into data centers, chips, and AI infrastructure. That's more than the GDP of some countries, spent every single year. But here's the paradox. While spending has exploded, the returns haven't. According to MIT, 95% of companies experimenting with generative AI haven't seen a measurable return on investment. So if the technology isn't paying for itself, how are these valuations possible? That's where things get interesting and uncomfortable. Much of the money circulating in the AI economy isn't coming from customers at all. It's coming from investors trading it back and forth. Let's use the Three Stooges sketch as our example, but this time with trillion-dollar companies.
And speaking of money, how about the $20 you owe me?
Oh, yeah? Well, I only got 10, so here's 10, I owe you 10.
Thanks.
Hey, Mo, you owe me 20.
Well, here's 10, and I'll owe you 10.
You owe me 20.
Here's 10, I owe you 10.
Here's the 10 I owe you.
Here's the 10 I owe you.
Here's the 10 I owe you.
Good, now we're all even.
Here's how it works. Microsoft pours billions into OpenAI to secure a competitive edge in the AI race. Through that deal, Microsoft gains exclusive rights to resell OpenAI's models on Azure, the Azure OpenAI service. That access gives Microsoft customers the latest AI tools and generates over $13 billion in AI revenue in 2025 alone. But here's the twist. OpenAI spends those same billions back into Azure, since it needs Microsoft's cloud capacity to run its models. And even then, Azure can't keep up with OpenAI's enormous computational hunger. That's where Oracle steps in. In 2025, OpenAI and Oracle signed a multi-year deal worth hundreds of billions under Project Stargate. Oracle provides extra data center muscle to feed OpenAI's systems. But if you think that closes the loop, wait, it gets even messier. OpenAI's computing demand is so intense that even Microsoft and Oracle separately can't keep up. So Oracle had to rely on Microsoft just to make its partnership with OpenAI work. Under their June 2024 agreement, OpenAI chose Oracle Cloud Infrastructure to extend Microsoft Azure, not replace it. OpenAI's workloads can move between Oracle and Azure data centers. That's how you close the Three Stooges cycle. Microsoft to OpenAI to Oracle to Microsoft. The same dollar just keeps spinning around the room. Everyone paying everyone, and somehow they all get richer. But do they actually? On paper, they all reported as new revenue. All sides look like they are growing, but the money never actually leaves the room. It's financial circular breathing, and is keeping the illusion of endless growth alive. Because behind those glossy valuations lies a system that still bleeds cash, even as it claims to print gold. I'd even dare to say the only company truly cashing in from this frenzy is Nvidia. They're not building chatbots or models, they're selling the picks and shovels of the gold rush. Every AI company in this loop, OpenAI, Microsoft, Oracle, even startups, is funneling their cash straight into Nvidia's pockets for GPUs. The result? Their profits are exploding, and their market value has now surpassed the entire pharmaceutical industry combined. The system feeds itself. Nvidia sells chips to AI firms. Those firms raise more money to buy more chips. And rising stock prices convince everyone the future has already arrived. But this is where the cracks begin to show. Because bubbles aren't built on lies. They're built on partial truths taken too far. Yes, AI is transformative. Yes, it's reshaping how we work, code, and create. But when an entire market depends on speculative spending and borrowed belief, one slowdown can shake the whole foundation. During the dot-com bubble, risk was mostly confined to tech. In 2008, the housing collapse spread to banks and households. But the AI bubble, it sits at the center of everything. Every major economy is betting on it. The US, the EU, China, Japan, even the Middle East. Governments are offering subsidies and tax breaks. Pension funds and retirement portfolios are heavily exposed to the same 7 companies driving this race. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Google, Nvidia, and Tesla. Together, they now make up roughly 1/3 of the entire S&P 500. That means if AI stumbles, everyone does. Your savings, your superannuation, your pension, already tied to this experiment. But financial exposure is only the first pressure point. There's the physical world. Data centers consume enormous amounts of power. Energy companies are already warning that expansion is outpacing the grid. Engineers say we cannot scale fast enough to feed AI's appetite.
And then you got the data center that needs this ultra reliable power, ultra grade reliable power, and is growing at a rate that it just kind of blows away the expectations of load growth on the utility grid. And it's that expectation of the data center saying, well, but I need 500 megawatts in 2 years, and the utility industry saying, can't have it.
Land prices, water usage, and emissions are climbing. The digital revolution is colliding with the limits of the real world. Then there's the legal front. AI firms face lawsuits for copyright, data theft, and privacy violations.
So this impressed me too. I asked it to imagine Charlie Brown as thinking of himself as an AI. Came up with this. I thought this was actually rather profound. What do you think? So that's really interesting. We don't know. Isn't there though, like at first glance, this looks like IP theft. Like, you guys don't have a deal with the Peanuts estate, or?
You can clap about that all you want. Enjoy.
Europe's AI Act can fine companies up to 7% of global revenue. In the US, regulation is catching up fast. If the lawsuits land before the profits do, the economics could unravel quickly. And the deeper I looked, the clearer the pattern became. This entire boom runs on borrowed time. Every part of it, the chips, the data centers, the companies, depends on capital that assumes tomorrow will be better than today. And you can see that assumption in the biggest deals being announced. In September 2025, the Wall Street Journal reported that OpenAI had signed a 5-year contract with Oracle to purchase about $300 billion in computing capacity, starting in 2027, that is a spend rate of roughly $60 billion per year. Around the same time, coverage of Project Stargate described plans for about 4.5 gigawatts of new data center capacity in the US, calling it one of the largest cloud compute arrangements ever discussed. To put that in perspective, 4.5 gigawatts is enough to power about 3.7 million homes at typical US usage. That is every home in New York City, plus Atlanta, running non-stop. OpenAI's annual revenue is estimated around $10 to $13 billion. While spending billions, the company is just not profitable enough. Analysts pointed out a simple gap. To support a $300 billion commitment, OpenAI would need a rounds of $60 billion in revenue per year, which is roughly 6 times its current levels. That number doesn't include other commitments, such as OpenAI's reported $10 billion chip deal with Broadcom and $12 billion of compute purchases from CoreWeave, which are separate obligations. That's what assumes tomorrow will be better than today looks like in practice. Oracle is building this massive data centers under the assumption that in 5 years' time, OpenAI will be profitable enough to pay off all that investment. But that assumption rests on something that hasn't happened yet, proven scalable profit. So what if that profit never arrives? The last time we saw this pattern was in 2008. Back then, banks created products so complex, even they didn't understand them. Investors thought they were spreading risk, but they were all tied to the same failing system. When one domino fell, the rest followed. Today, the same dynamic is forming around AI, only now it's GPUs instead of mortgages, governments instead of homebuyers, cloud contracts instead of housing loans. It looks safe until it isn't. If AI revenue continues to fall short of its costs, the consequences won't just show up inside tech companies. We'll see projects paused, funding dry up, and layoffs ripple through industries that never fully understood what they were investing in.
I was laid off in March this year. It took me 6 months to find a new job. Got a new job 7 weeks ago, and now this new job has announced hundreds of layoffs.
So I think I'm being laid off from my job today.
That does impact your position. Today is going to be your last day.
I'm 30 years old. I'm unemployed. I've been unemployed for 4 months. I literally can't get a job. I've applied to over 150 jobs. I now have negative $4.41 in my savings account because of the monthly service fee that just hit.
And here's the unsettling part. Even companies that don't build AI are spending aggressively on it, not because it's profitable, but because they're terrified of being left behind. Fear is the engine of every bubble. And this time, fear isn't just about missing opportunity. It's about becoming irrelevant. Inside boardrooms, AI is no longer a tool. It's a storyline, a promise, a threat. Executives don't want to miss the next internet. Investors don't want to miss the next gold rush. Politicians don't want to be the ones who slow down innovation.
The AI future is not going to be won by hand-wringing about safety. It will be won by building.
So the spending continues, even when the math doesn't.
A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure.
Some believe this is an infrastructure supercycle, a long-term investment phase that will eventually pay off. Others call it a speculative frenzy that ends the same way every bubble ends, with layoffs, abandoned projects, and public money used to clean up the damage. The truth is probably somewhere in between, because bubbles don't only burst, they reshape. The dot-com crash erased thousands of companies, but it also gave us Amazon and Google. The housing crash destroyed economies, but it forced the financial system to harden. So yes, something may be built from all of this. I guess we can only wait and hope. But what exactly will an AI correction leave behind? Maybe smarter automation, maybe stronger infrastructure, maybe efficiency we can actually feel, or maybe the same pattern we've seen every time: consolidation, inequality, and a handful of companies that become too big to challenge. And the question I keep hearing from people outside the industry is simple. If AI is supposed to make everything cheaper and faster, why does life feel more stressful, more expensive, and more uncertain than ever? Why are wages flat while profits climb? Why does automation will free us so often translate to automation will replace us? These aren't just economic questions, they're human ones. We were told AI would handle the boring work so we could be more human. But so far, it has only made the system faster, not fairer. And behind the billion-dollar headlines lies the truth every bubble reveals. It was never just about innovation. It was about timing, momentum, and who gets out before the music stops. So the real question isn't, is this a bubble? The real question is, who will still be standing when it ends?